video, I'm gonna be walking you through how to create your own ironclad contract. Now, some people kind of seize up when they hear the word contract, but a contract is simply an agreement between the two parties. And it's something that it's a necessity in business, right? You need to kind of manage the expectations and have everything just kind of clearly articulated from the get-go. And if things ever do get hairy, you've always got this to kind of lean back on. So we're gonna be actually handing you this ironclad consulting contract that you can literally take and swipe and deploy into your business and start using it to get clients immediately. However, there may be certain things that you kind of want to customize in your contract. You might be like a videographer or a wedding photographer or a financial planner or a health coach. And there might be certain things like little intricacies that you want to add to that contract. So what we've gone ahead and done is added a whole bunch of links in the resource section where you can actually use sites and go out and customize your contract. You don't need to go and hire a high-priced lawyer in a fancy office or anything like that. You can do all of this online for free, and you can really tailor and customize a contract that's perfect for your individual consulting business. The bare minimum that you need for a contract is, I'm gonna be supplying these services and this is how much it's gonna cost. And essentially 2 signatures of the people signing off on that agreement. However, I'm also going to include some of the other bells and whistles that you should include as like a minimum in a contract. And we'll go through those right now. Now, I'm not saying that these are absolute must-haves for your individual consultancy business, because I don't know what type of consultancy business that you run. So really, basically, these are just some good things to really be thinking about at this stage. And then thinking about how they apply to your business and if you need to customize them or tailor them so that it kind of fits for a glove and it feels right and it works right and covers you on all the points that you need to be covered on. The first one is really ownership rights. Like, who owns this? Are they hiring this? Do you own it? Are you handing over the IP to them? And you just need to be thinking about that and thinking about how you want to articulate that, okay? So the next thing is the payment terms. Me personally, I always like to be paid 100% in advance and upfront, meaning that, I'm not gonna have any issues with getting payments in the future because I'm always paid before I even conduct those services. However, in your business, it might be a project fee that you're looking on, and you might want to think about, do they pay 60% upfront and 40% upon completion? Do you have like 30-day terms and you just want to think about, what would be the best way for you to kind of pursue this and how do you want to move forward? The one thing that I would note is that, being as a startup business or as a startup consultancy business, that your business will be purely run on cash flow on most instances. So you want to think about ways that you can kind of collect that cash flow as early as possible to aid your business in being able to scale up. Late payment fees. This is something that you also need to think about. Like, while we like to think, that we operate in a perfect world and people are always gonna pay you in time, things happen. People credit cards decline, they get into situations where they might not have the money right away, and you just want to make sure that you're kind of covering those things, you know? If you're gonna be charging people and then their credit cards are declined, there's generally a transaction fee for that. So you just wanna make sure that, like, if people don't pay you on time, or if the payment does not go through, that you have something built in there that covers that, where you're not basically fitting that bill for the client. The next one is project termination. So you need to think about, you know, is it a contract you're working on in terms of, is it a 12-month contract? Do you work in 3-month blocks? And how much notice do you require in order that client to give you if they want to cancel? It may be a situation where, you know, you've carried out a lot of the work and then they cancel. Or there may be a minimum term in that as well, like 90 days. And I definitely suggest kind of in building or thinking of a way that you can have like a minimum contract term. And that's really because, you know, generally with most services that are provided, it takes a certain amount of time to kind of tweak things and to get them optimized and running as efficiently as possible. So if you can have, like, you know, a project termination notice or a fee attached to that, it really kind of allows you to have a little bit of a wiggle room in terms of really dialing this thing in and letting them know it's not gonna happen overnight, which further kind of leads into managing that client's expectations. The next thing to note is cancellation fees. So, you know, is there gonna be a cancellation fee if they cancel within that contract period, or will you just let them go? Is it a month-to-month contract? It's something you just need to think about, you know? If you've carried out a bulk of the work and then they choose to kind of cancel, you know, halfway through the contract, is it fair that they don't compensate you for that? And the other thing is, you might be thinking, look, I just want to let everybody go for free. I don't want to be that guy that's kind of holding people to things, you know? You need to also know that, you know, whenever you say yes to a client in the beginning, you have to say no to another client, because there's only so many hours in the day that you can fulfill this work and need to think about lost revenue. So you can't just be that nice guy, you know? At the end of the day, this is also business. And while we're there to serve our clients and provide a phenomenal service, you also still need to cover yourself and make sure that that client does the right thing by you. The next point is obtaining the rights to include your work into your client portfolio. This is a really important one. A lot of times client might ask you to kind of sign an NDA and not talk about them, but other times, you know, and most of the times they're kind of open to it. But unless you really state that in your contract, then it's something that you kind of need to constantly go out and ask for permission for. So I've found that it's generally the best just to inbuild that into your contract, which basically just gives you the rights to be able to showcase your work. Later we'll talk about how you can leverage that, and you can leverage that client portfolio in your work case studies to even get better clients. But we need to make sure from a legal standpoint that we actually have the rights to do that. So I suggest including something like this in your contract. The next one is limiting the amount of revisions on the work. So you may be a video photographer and you might be able to provide, you know, a standard plan. You might build in 2 revisions into each project, and, you know, every so often you get a troublesome client that comes across and they're just impossible to please and they want unlimited revisions. Although it's like the project's really dragging on and you haven't really stipulated in the contract how many revisions are included. So this is one that if you're any kind of creative work, or even if you're a marketing consultant and you're building landing pages or writing copy for people, that you need to have covered off in there. So the client's expectations is managed to kind of how many revisions are going to be acceptable in this project, and starting that anything beyond that is going to be chargeable. Now, another point to really consider and to think about is some clients might ask you to kind of sign a non-compete and kind of verbalize that they don't really want you working with other people in the same space. Now, you might be a marketing consultant serving a specific niche, and that's not really gonna be doable for you nor feasible. And signing non-competes isn't something that I recommend doing, because at the end of the day, this person will be paying your normal nominal fee, and really there's kind of a loss of revenue if you're agreeing not to deal with anybody in a competing space. So it's certainly something that I like to avoid in not signing not compete, because it's really kind of putting handcuffs on you and limiting you to the kind of clients that you can work with. The other thing to think about is contract start and end date. You really want to be clear on that person, that kind of like when they're signing up, what is the length of that contract. And an easy way to do this is, if you're going to do a month-to-month contract, or whether it's an annual 12-month or 90 days, is have the date that they start as the anniversary billing date and contract date that they're committed to basically be working with you. And while a lot of people don't like contracts, it's one of those things that is a little bit of a necessary evil. Like, you need to be clear. You need to know what the expectations are, and you also need to have a commitment from both ends, right? A lot of the time in life, if you're kind of striving to a big reward, that doesn't happen overnight. And by having a client on a contract, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, or however you want to structure this up, that also just builds in and really kind of manages that client's expectations. That like, look, the results will come, but they won't come overnight. And this is a process. And we're gonna need to be working through this and iterating on this process to get you the desired outcome that you want. Or it may be that you might be in the design space and they're just thinking that like you don't have any other clients and you can just bang out these designs or these videos in 7 days, where you need to kind of put it in there to let them what kind of time frames are the deliverables and what to expect, and let them know that your really high quality of work doesn't happen overnight. And it's a process that you must go through, and that you can't force that creativity. And so really having that start and end date just really puts that in black and white and covers all your bases. Now, by going through this process, it just ensures that there aren't like any hidden surprises that come up later on, that you don't get stung with someone trying to recoup someone's money, or the expectations not being really clear from both parties. And it's just things that could surprise and pop up at a very inconvenient time. And if you've just got a lot of this stuff kind of screwed in and dialed in, and it's all sorted, you can just rest well at night that everything that you're doing is within your legal obligations of carrying out the services to your clients, and things should run as smoothly as they possibly can. Now, obviously, I'm not a lawyer and I can't be giving any kind of legal advice, so I suggest that you kind of go out there and consult with a lawyer. This is simply a framework for you to follow. So the action item for this video is for you to download our Ironclad Consulting Contract and have a read of that and start to think about how that applies to your business, and then also go away to the resources section below and fire up those sites and start to kind of customize them and see how you can tailor them specifically to your own consultancy business. So then you will have a completely customized and tailored ironclad contract for your individual consultancy business.